All right. Hey everyone, welcome to the July edition of Community Call from ToolJet, where this is a place where we catch up with our community and learn each other from the either sides, from the community and from the company as a product, where we are going and what's coming and what are the new features that's up there. So we'll look at some of the product updates and some at the same time. We'll always stick with some key concept where we'll deep dive and learn some aspects of using ToolJet much better as we progress with ToolJet all the time, right? So ToolJet calls, sorry, the community calls from ToolJet are always my favorite because it gives me a very good time to catch up with the community members and also talk to you, learn from you, and at the same time carry feedback from here to internally and advocate around what's essentially needed. Right. So there's a great opportunity for me and for the other side as well. I hope so. So welcome once again to the July edition of Community Calls from ToolJet. And then to give you a quick glimpses, if you're first time here, these community calls are a monthly. So every time, last week of the month is usually the time when we have when we host our community calls. So if you essentially stick with ToolJet for a long time, you would be already known that every month, last week, you would definitely get an invite to your email if you're registered. So you'd be always if you're in our Slack, like tooljet.com/Slack, where we'd always invite all of our community members to sign up and register for our community calls related to a specific topic. Where in case today, we'll be jumping into a very interesting thing and also most important thing for major ToolJet users. And this is also one of the most commonly seen in our general works, general channel in our Slack as well, and from our customers, where we get to see that, the ToolJet apps are being very data intensively, where you have a large amount of data coming from different data sources, databases, or for some sources that has huge chunks of the data that you want to bring inside ToolJet and wanted to handle that, right? So it's always a tricky thing. Dealing with large amounts of data is a skillful thing, and also an interesting aspect to always cover about, and which also helps in bringing more efficiency to the product. Right. So the application goes much efficient when you handle it, cleverly, and also with a skill of doing it with style. Right. So in ToolJet, there are certain aspects on how we will be doing it. So we'll be covering some of the aspects majorly with the table component and bringing some data which are in lakhs of rows. And we try to, do it smoother enough so that it will be easy for you to also do the same thing with some of your sources. So once again, thank you so much for joining. And I am having a good time talking to you all over the chat, but I would be always happy if you have any questions, you can drop them in the chat, or you can raise your hand. I can unmute you, and then you can go ahead and talk to me, or any of the questions that you have, you can raise it here, or you can drop them in the chat. Right. So let me quickly present my screen and pull up my presentation. Okay. I gave you a sneak peek. Okay. Where are the slides? Yeah, I think it's keep playing. Okay. Here we go. So let's quickly jump on to the agenda today. So we'll be looking at some of the product updates, and we'll see the July recap, what has been some interesting things over the July, and then we'll explore the table component for pagination, and then implement server-side pagination and how you can deal it with. At the same time, there are some of the server-side features like filter, search, and sorting that can help you to play with the huge large volumes of data into your application. And then at the same time, we'll also see how you can also use REST API and implement a pagination to the with the table component pagination. So at the end, we'll have a Q&A open mic, but it's not always constrained to the constrained to the end. It's always open. You can drop your message, or you can raise your hand. As I said, you in between, you can stop me in between and ask your questions, and as much as interactive as possible. So you're always welcome to talk, and it's intended to be interactive, and it's always best if it is interactive. So with that being said, let's quickly jump on to the product updates. So if you're already aware, some of the components are being updated, and there there are some, slight changes, and some of the changes are also very major. But the very noticeable things are actually the components are coming with some advanced toggle, where now on a component, as you toggle advanced to it, where now you would be able to set schema. For suppose if you have a drop down, and now you have a advanced toggle turned on, where you should be able to set the schema of it, where it can be the source from a different connection, right? So that brings up the advanced toggle to the components, where you can set it by yourself. I'm not dwelling into certain aspects and showing you that, but instead you can try that out. We're going in a high level, so that giving you a broader understanding of what are these updates, and how you can also try them out. And then next to it, we have the revamp, we have the new integration Harper DB. So Harper DB is another database service out there, so which is also you can be used with the integration that ToolJet offers. So now you can connect to Harper DB and start performing queries, maybe in terms of SQL or NoSQL. And once you do it, you can do all of the operations with Harper DB right from ToolJet, where you have your ToolJet application, connect to Harper DB with Harper DB integration, and then start using Harper DB inside ToolJet with the integration. So yeah, you can quickly connect to it and then start performing the operations inside the application. So this is another major update with a new integration released, and you can check them out. The community edition is already ready. You can look at the GitHub repository for it. The CE has the Harper DB. And then, yes, the revamped left sidebar. Don't worry if if you're not aware some of these components or the left sidebar. We'll be looking at it in a couple of minutes, getting inside the app builder, and then exploring all of this. Yeah, earlier inspector was almost the same, but now it has got much more better in terms of the beautification, and also ordering certain the data which is placed inside the nested aspects of the inspector. Right. So these are some of the major, updates over the version as ToolJet evolving. But then there are very, very, important fixes in terms of security, and also in terms of some little bugs. So all of them were fixed. I'm not highlighting any of them. You can always check them out at the GitHub repository. So github.com/tooljet/tooljet. And once you're up there, you can look at the milestones or the PRs or the releases. Maybe you can check out the releases and see what's up there. It's always well documented. So yeah, and then one more thing in terms of adding actions to the table component. So there are a couple more the actions are added. One major thing is about a control component, and you can actually download the table data from the table component by using this action. So yeah, moving on in terms of what's coming and what is up there. I'm not dwelling into certain aspects in terms of what feature is coming, not intended to promise anything specific, but instead you can, as I said, you can try it out yourself. It's always open because ToolJet, an open source product. You can go to ToolJet GitHub repository and then get into the issues part. And then there you will be able to see the milestone, and inside milestone, you should be able to see that, what do you call it? So there are all the issues that are, scheduled or even set it to release over the time. So this is, we are starting it out, and milestones is something that can also help you in tracking what's coming. And you can also see at what place which is, and you can also guess. You can do some guesswork when is coming what, right? So milestones can be very much helpful if you could try that out. So yes, this is about what's coming. It's always open to you. You can look at that, but I'm not going into anything specific right of now. Awesome. So July recap. We had done a demo hour with MariaDB on building an integrated inventory and order management app using MariaDB and ToolJet. So it's already available in our YouTube. So it's a live stream where we invited Alejandro from MariaDB. He's a developer advocate at MariaDB, where we paired up together and actually built the inventory and order management application. So it has certain aspects on how you can connect to MariaDB and ToolJet and build the application from the scratch. So yeah, check that out. You can go to go to ToolJet. Sorry, you can go to YouTube and search for this specific thing with the naming like ToolJet, MariaDB, and inventory order, and all of that. You should be able to find it. Or else you can go to our channel under the live stream sections. You should be able to find that. So then, yes, another major thing for us, ToolJet raised funding from Microsoft. M12 GitHub fund, which will help us enormously in terms of extending ToolJet as a product and as a company. So there's a lot more things coming up. So and this fund will be essentially fueling a lot more things that are planned up. So just as a huge news for us, so sharing it in the community call either. So if you are following ToolJet in Twitter or LinkedIn, you should be already aware of all of this. And then, yes, we had a new tutorials. The same thing with MariaDB. What we have done is about the inventory and order management application that was using MariaDB. But then we also thought, why don't we have a similar application for inventory and order management, but then only with Google Sheets and ToolJet, right? So with this tutorial, you can go to blog.tooljet.com. So it's quite accessible, blog.tooljet.com. Once you're up there, you can see that the recent release of this tutorial, which is about building an inventory and order management system or the application with Google Sheets and ToolJet. That's it. So you should be able to see some of the UI and the functionalities that is connected to it. Okay, so that's about the July recap, quickly showing some prominent things that could be helpful for you. And then, yes, jumping on to today's agenda part. Let's quickly jump on and explore the table component for pagination. So what we are going to look at today is specifically about how you can, connect to the ToolJet, connect to some of the major heavy data sources, and then start using and bringing the data into ToolJet and building the application efficiently. So to give you an example of what data we'll be using it inside ToolJet is this one. So we are connecting to Snowflake. We're going to connect to Snowflake and bring the data and start using it. The reason why we are sticking here with Snowflake, because it has some sample data sets here. The moment you sign up to Snowflake, this will give you some example data sets. So this is Snowflake sample data. As you expand it, you should be able to see that there are some schemas, and inside that you have some tables, and inside the customer, if you see this customer table, if you get into the columns of it, or else you can look at the data preview here. You should be always you can see the preview of this data, but then look at the number of rows here. It's 150k, so 150,000 rows. So there's a huge amount of data. Now loading it inside ToolJet at a time, it's not always the preferred thing, not only in ToolJet, but in general. If you wanted to handle such a huge amount of data, and beyond that, there are certain ways to do it. And one aspect is about pagination, server-side operations, and all of that. We'll be looking into each and every aspect, but giving you a heads up of what data we'll be using. So this is a Snowflake trial account I'm on, and you can get into, it's nothing, I have not set it up anything. This is a default sign up. As you sign up, you get this all in hand by Snowflake itself, and wherein we are going to go certain something like, we'll choose SF10. So not, I don't know how different is it, but if you look at it's even more bigger. So it's 1.5 million rows. So yeah, so pretty much about what data source we'll be using it. At the same time, now in order to get this data into ToolJet, we'll be using the Snowflake integration for it. Okay, so let's get back and first connect Snowflake to ToolJet and bring the data, and then we'll move on to the next steps. Okay, how do you do it? This is the home page or the dashboard that you can call as you sign up or sign in. And once you're up here, you can just go ahead and actually click on global data sources. So this is where you can see the global data sources thing. And as you click on that, you should be able to see that a button to add a new data source right up here. Now, once you click on that, you should be able to see a gallery of all the data sources that ToolJet currently supports. And in that, what we are interested is to connect to Snowflake. So the data is coming from there. So in all of this, you see Snowflake here. So we're going to choose this. And the moment you click on that, it asks for some details. So have them kept ready. So I'm bringing that, the username and the account. So all of this is something that you have to bring from Snowflake. So once you have signed up or signed into Snowflake and bring it up here, you should be able to connect it from ToolJet, right? Just like how I'm doing now. So I think the database or role warehouse. So warehouse is ToolJet and role is going to be account admin. Okay, so give me a minute. I'm just typing the password. I hope I'm correct. So let me, once you're done with filling up all the details, I'm not giving the database name for now. You can always access inside the ToolJet as how you do it. So you can just click on test connection. And once you do that, it will make a request and see if the connection is verified. There you go, green sign. So which is we are ready to go. So now we have connected Snowflake to now I connected my ToolJet, my Snowflake account to ToolJet, and I can start using it right away. Okay, so that's how it works. And now the next step is possibly about getting on and start using it. So I can just name this like Snowflake, and you can just say July community call. So it could be easy to identify. So all I just need to do is just click on save. And once I click it on save, you should be able to see that it got added. So all the other data sources that you see here are different, but now what we're interested in only this Snowflake thing, which we'll be using to bring the data and start using it inside the application. Okay, so let's quickly go ahead to the home and now create a new application. So now we are done with connecting Snowflake to ToolJet. All we just need to do is to now bring the data from the Snowflake here to ToolJet. Okay, so how you do it? So if you're not aware, so this is the application builder. You have all the components in the right, and then you have the query panel in the bottom. So components are responsible for bringing all the helping in building the UI of the application. We'll be doing a little bit of the UI, not really about it, but the major focus of the call is more on how you can effectively bring data from Snowflake, the large amount of data, and start using it inside the application without any performance issues. Okay, so click on this. So all you need to do is once you pull up the query panel, you should be able to see that the data source which we added here. So this is the one which we added, Snowflake-July-community call. You can click on that, and once you're up there, you should be able to see the window turned into an editor, or a editor for you to write SQL. So you can query the data and bring it to here. Okay, so what we're going to do is actually type some SQL query that brings up the data. So to show you, I'm going to say select everything from table, right? So we need to get the table. So what we're going to go, so we're going to get the customers table here. This is from Snowflake again. So it's inside Snowflake sample data. And then inside that, I'm going to go TPCHSF10, and then inside customers. So let me copy this. We'll need to make some changes, but yeah. You just need to say paste this, and then we're going to remove this forward slashes and then replace that with dots. Okay, so we're going to go select everything from the table customer, and then say we can just it's a huge data, right? 1.5 million rows. So I'm not going to bring all of that. Let me limit it to something like 10. Okay, so now it is just for us to quickly confirm if how well are we connected with the database, and are we able to retrieve the information from Snowflake to ToolJet. That's a good sign. So we got the data. So you can see that there are 10 data points as we limited it to 10. And now you can quickly look at how the data looks like. The customer key 240001. So that's how the data is here. So if you look at data preview, I think somewhere around, yeah. What is that? Customer key, right? Okay, but this is the same data that's coming. So it's a C name. Yeah, it's exactly the same. I think, yes. Yeah, somewhere the ordering maybe. So because what you see here, essentially, I'm not fully sure, but we are getting the data. But let's make a quick check in terms of the rows that we have here. So it is SF10. So I have a query in handy that helps us to bring the, the amount of, maybe the length of the table, to be honest. Okay, so we'll just get the data. So you can just remove this query and just say that, we're going to go get the count and just set it and bring the length of it so that we can quickly confirm. So you can just make a preview, and then once you do it, we should be able to see that it's around, yes, that's a huge thing, right? So you have a lot of data coming up from Snowflake and from here. So now let's fill it inside the table. So now we have got the data. So let's quickly set it back to the previous one, this one. So I'm going to limit it to something like maybe 50. That should be fine. So I'm going to preview, just say that, you can just say preview, and then you should be able to see the 50 data points, and then you can just say create. Okay, which means that this query is now created with name like Snowflake 1 is the name of the query. Okay, so let's quickly populate this and now see how the pagination thing will be helping us. So just go ahead and search for table in the right side in the components manager. And now all you need to do is to bring that component onto the canvas and drop it. So you can adjust this as needed. I'm not focusing on the UI aspect right as of now. So now you have this table here. What you see, the data here is actually a dummy data, which is coming as a part of template, right? So you can just remove all of that, or you can just click on this component, go to the properties in the right side, and remove all of this data. Okay, Command A and delete. So yeah, data is gone. So now what I'm going to do is actually get this data and present it here. Okay, so all I need to do is to do some query things, double curly braces, and queries dot the auto suggestions helps you here, and just say data. Okay, so all you need to do is to just click on this run button. So on the query, the moment you click run, the table should be populated with the data that is coming from Snowflake. Okay, so this is how easy how you can bring the information or the data from different data sources and just present it inside an application like this. You can just use it as of now, but yeah, as you can see that I brought it around 50 data points, right? So there are 50 rows I was requesting for, but now as you see here, there are only a certain limited number of rows, but not 50. So these are around, I think, 10. So you can see that, right? So the number of rows per page, it is set to 10. So in order to go access for further rows, you just need to click on this, navigating buttons here. You can just click on that, and then you go to the second page, and then you can go, but so far, so forth, to which you can go is only till 50. Right, you can go beyond because this is more like the client side, right? You already got the query data, so which means that you made a request and the data is inside ToolJet, and then you're just presenting on the component and just switching between the pages. And this is all, there is no request happening while you switch the page. It's just showing the data that is up here. But if you do something like you bring all the 1.5 million rows here, it is not a suggestible way, and also it also brings you some problems with performance, and some not a good way to dump all the data and put it on the table, and doing it is client side is not at all preferred. So that is where we are going to bring the concept of server side pagination. So this pagination is client side, which is happening within the application, that once you make a request, and then you just preview, switch between pages from here to there. But now what we're going to do is actually implement server side pagination. What I mean by that, the moment you click on a next page, you just don't get it just like this, but instead you make a request and bring the data and show it up here. So in which you can browse to 1.5 million directly, right? So that means that you can just set a limit to, here I set to 10 here 10, but you can set to 100, and you can switch pages, and that can be a good go for browsing all the data from a huge table and inside an application, right? So, but yeah, that might not be helpful for some of you. Instead, you might be also looking for some of the filters. Yes, you have filter data. You can also do the server side. The moment you add filter, something like column set to custom, maybe national key is equals to something, and then just say you create this filters, and then that brings the certain required data. At the same time, you can also do the search. The moment you search it, it makes a server side request, which means it makes the query request and bring the information from the Snowflake and shows you here. Okay, so these are the certain aspects that we are going to explore inside the pagination thing of table component specifically, and then we'll look at the other aspects. Okay, so I hope that is clear, but I would also love to hear anything from you specific. I'll just pause for a while if you have anything to ask, or if you have anything, or I'll be just open to know. If there are no questions, I can definitely go forward. All good. Awesome. Okay, so let's get into.
Okay, I have one question.
Yeah, sure.
So currently, how the UI react if there is lot of data, like 1.5 million of data comes into the system? Like it blocks the data, or it have some loader, or it hangs. So how it will respond usually without pagination?
It will. I don't think it would be balancing it, because the huge amount of data that is coming up here, it makes the performance not so convenient. So that's the major thing. So if you see, that may be some sort of loading things. It keeps loading, because if you wanted to bring that huge amount of data, it will be loading for a while, right? So it won't be very quick. At the same time, you could also find some lags and some sort of inefficiency in terms of the experience that you go through, right? Because it's a process running behind. And if a simple application or a browser wants to hold that huge amount of data, it essentially, yeah, it will kill your browser. If absolutely right. Yeah, that's a straightforward answer.
Yeah.
Awesome. That should be fine. Okay, so now we have it here. So what we could do is, so let's make it simple, not too many pages here. So let's go ahead and actually set it to something like 10. So I hope you would be already aware, like if you're not, there is something called pages and offsets in SQL, right? So in order to we are going to use the same concept here for the pagination. It's a generic topic. If you're not aware, you can look into it. But then the essential thing what we're going to do is actually use this concept of pages. uh, okay, I'm going to mute Asim. Okay, he got mute himself. Okay, so yeah, we're going to use this concept of limits and offsets, so that which to just give you an example. So limit is something that brings the limited number of rows or the data points from the Snowflake. So now we have 5 things, so you'll only get 5. But then the moment you use this another thing called offset, am I right in type? Yeah, offset. And then if you just say 5, so I'm going to put limit 5 and offset 5. What it means is, if you remember the last one, which is the 5th item, which is the customer key is 24005. Okay, this is without any offsets. This is just a regular limit that we have kept it to 5, and we see the 5 items. But the moment I keep offset and set it to 5, and now I make a preview, remember the ID here, this is 24005. And as I just preview it with offset set to 5, what happens is the data, the coming up 5 items that you see, the first one is the 6th thing, right? So the 0006. So it gives you the follow-up data. So if you see the last one, it should be 10, right? So what's happening here is we are bringing the data into 5 chunks. We got the limit 5, and what we are saying, when you put an offset, it is skipping the first 5 rows of the data of the table. So I wanted to, so what it says is, I wanted to bring 5 rows in which the first 5 I'm skipping it. So the followed up after the from the row number 6, I'm going to get 5 more, right? So that's what it's happening here. So that is the concept of little high level introduction about the limits and offsets here. I'm not dwelling into more about it as we move forward, even for other aspects of server side where we use filters and search. I'll be not going into depth of it, but just giving you an introduction as a high level overview of what these limits and offsets would be. So yes, so this is how you bring chunks and data and present it here. But then in terms of how you do it, manage with tables. So you get the data, we have SQL, but then how you put it to the component and start using it, right? So for that, you have to change these offset values dynamically. So as you bring the 5, as you set the offset to 10, the next page as you move on, it should be definitely 20, because you don't want the previous one, you want from 20 to 30. And then from when you go to the next page, this value should be incremented to something like 30, so that you get the next 30 to 40 values, right? So that's how you put it. So the limit is something we keep it ideal, so we can put it to something like 10. And then the offset, oh, not 105. Okay, so in the offset, this is where we're going to use some of the some logics and some values to bring it. Okay, so how you do it, we're going to get the page index. So that's where we are going to get the page index and do some little multiplication with 10 and -1, so that it brings you the actual value. So hold on, we'll show you how we do it. So for that, in order to implement the server side pagination, first quick things to do to the table is, you click on the table, go to the properties, and enable the server side pagination. So here there is an option called server side pagination. Okay, you just enable that, and once you enable, there should be some values that will be open for you to explore. Okay, if you see that there are components, and then in this is a table component. So inside table there is something called page index. So this value, right? So this, you see this, the page index is 1 currently. It is set to 1. Okay. So now if I have to show you, if I just draw, scroll it a bit and show you how this value changes. So now this is in the page 1, and now you can see that the page index is set to 1. Keep an eye here. As I go to the page number 2, the number should be changed to 2 here, right? So that changes. So that's how we are going to play with this. We are going to play with the page index and then set the value of the offset so that we get the data in chunks. Okay. So right up here, now the offset value being static, I'm going to change this into something like I'm going to access this value now. Okay. How do I do it? Okay. Instead, I show you how I type it. I can show you an easy approach. You can just go ahead and, choose this page index, and you see the copy option here, copy path to clipboard. As you click on that, this path is copied. All you need to do is to come here and just Command V, paste it. So now you see that the offset is 1, but this is not what we are looking for. We want something like 10. And then when you go to page number 2, I want it to be 20. And then 3, it should be 30. Like it just need to be incremental, right? So for that, I'm going to do some little math here. So all you need to do is to just brace it. Not a big thing, but it's a well-known way to handle the pagination things. You just need to do -1 with the current page value and then multiply it with 10. Okay. So this is all what we can do. Yeah, currently it is 0, because if you see that, if you can see the preview here, select everything from the table, limit set to 10 and offset is to 0, right? Because the page index is 1, so which means 1 minus 1 is 0, and 0 into 10 is obviously 0. But now keep an eye, as now the offset is set to 0. If you go to page number 2 here, I'm clicking on it, and now you see that it should be changed to 10, right? So in page 2, I'm going to get from the 10th row to the followed up 10 more data points, which is still 20, right? So now if I just go to page number 3, it should be turned to 20 here. Okay. So as I go there, and you see that it's 20. Okay. So that's how we are going to dynamically, use the value of the page index of the table and fetch the data accordingly. Okay, so that's a simple way of how you can leverage pagination. So let us quickly set this to the table and start using it. Okay, I'm going to hide this inspector now. We would be not needing it. So let it go. And now let me expand the table to back to its position. So what you see here right now, yeah, there are only around some number of data points here, but then, yeah, this is on page number 3. Yeah, you're in page number 1. So the page index is 1 now. Yeah. So all you need to do is to just save this. Okay. So once you save this, the query is saved, and the same query is attached to the table. So if you look at that, the Snowflake 1. So Snowflake 1 is the name of the query, and we have attached it. But what you need to do is, on every time you click on this button, you wanted to, trigger this query so that the data gets updated. How do you do it? So you just need to click on the component, go to the properties again, scroll it down. Okay. Scroll down to events. So there is something called events here. So once you're up here, you can click on add an event, and you just need to do a event. You just need to create an event. So the event is supposed to trigger when there is a page switch. So then event should be something like page changed here, right? So I hope you should be able to find this. Let me zoom it a bit. So I'm going to set an event to the table where, in case and every time there is a page changed, I wanted to run a query. So the action is set to run a query, and the query name is Snowflake 1. You can better name it as you wish, but I'm just keeping it to Snowflake 1 here. Okay. So now you are up here. So you just need to save this. It's already set it. Then now let me pull this down. We would not need it. So here this table. So now you have the table up here, and the moment I click on next, it goes blank because it's bringing the data and then populates here. So if you keep it track, it's 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, and you go down, it's 20 here. The moment I click on the next button, then the next page should be starting from 21, right? So let's look at that. There you go. So what's happening here is nothing is happening client side. It's happening in server side, where every time I click on this button. So to show you that, I'll keep this handy. Now, the moment I click on this button to bring the next page data, you should be able to see this query is running and populating. Okay. So as you click on that, you see this query is running here, and then there you go. So data is up here. So in this way, I just set it to limit it to 10, but it's up to you. You can put it the way you want, but to show you a quick example on how you can bring that huge data and browse through with more, easier way is how you can use limits and offsets and bring the data here. Okay. So that's easy. That's how easily you can bring the data, from Snowflake and put it up here. At the same time, to make it more, compelling to look, you can also set some sort of, page table loading state. So it's somewhere you can, I think it's in the styles or somewhere in properties. It will be there here. It's page loading, or it's something like, yeah, loading state, right? Here you can set the loading state of this table, which means that I'll quickly show you how does that look. So if I just set it to, queries dot Snowflake 1 dot is loading, right? It's actually false. So it takes a Boolean. The loading state takes true or false. If it is true, it will be always loading. If it is false, it will be not loading. So by the moment you click on the new page, it has to make a query, bring the data. So there is a little delay, right? So in that moment, you can keep that table loading. So the UI will be much more intuitive, right? Now we will go to 5th page. You can notice that it's loading. Once the data is landed, you can see the loading goes and then the data comes. Right. So that's how you can also utilize the loading state. What do you call this? Property. Yes. So, and then you can put it up to the table. So yeah, this is pretty much about the pagination stuff. So then we'll jump on to the next aspect of how you can do search. So here we also have a operation to search. The moment you type here, you wanted to, do some sort of a search to, you make a query, make a call to the query, make a call to the database and bring the relevant information and present it along with the pagination, right? So you would not need to, the moment you make a search, you would not need to cross through multiple pages, but instead you can, as it depends on the limited, number of rows that you allow to a table, you can set it. And then we'll also jump on to the filters. But then, yeah, as always, I'll just wait for a while and see if there are any questions related to this specific thing. And then we'll jump on to look at on how you can add a search thing here. Okay, Asim is asking, can we implement the same query when table data is from CSV file through the file picker? Hey Asim, yes, I have seen your query. So yes, I saved your CSV that you have shared with me on the other day. So I set it up. I have an approach for you. You can do it. You would not need to use SQL here because you're bringing the data from a file picker. Yes, to others who are listening to this, if you wanted to understand what Asim and I am talking about, we are trying to bring the same huge amount of CSV in terms of bringing from a database. Asim wants to have it in a file picker. So like, there is a file picker where you have this this component in which the moment you click on that, you should be able to add some, load some CSV. So in case of Asim's, where it has a huge amount of data, he wants to, navigate and also, what do you call, you put it inside the table without any performance issues. You just need to browse through all of that from the CSV to the table. Yes, I heard you. So I have this thing planned as we move forward. We'll also see how you can utilize the run.js for it. You would not need SQL for that. Instead, you would just need to use, there is, okay, I just need to save this. So you can use run.js for it. There is run JavaScript code. I have a templated code ready, so I'll be showing that as we move forward. Yeah, please be wait for that. Awesome. So anything else? That should be fine. If there is anything else, drop in the comments, or you can raise your hand, or you can unmute. Yeah. Okay, so let's get on to the next aspect of today's specific things. We're going to go ahead and try to see how you can, leverage search thing and actually run the query on the search. So to let you know how we do the search, as in general, the same SQL thing goes up here. All you need to do instead writing on the same thing, we'll be updating this query in a while, but then looking at how you can actually make a search and then add pagination to it as a two-step process. First, let's go create a new query, separately new one. So click on new and click on the data source that we have connected, Snowflake July CC, and you got a new window here. So what we are going to do is we are going to write a query that will be helping us to make the search. Okay. So we're going to use kind of an operators like or these like keywords that will help us to find the data that what we are looking for. Okay, the major aspect of what we'll be looking here is how you can use this table thing to do it. You would be already aware of the SQL what I'm writing here, so it's very straightforward. Select everything from the table, and then what I'm going to do is say where, give a something like a column name. So it should be text specific. You can choose to stick with C comment. So you can say C comment, customer comment maybe. And then you can say like, and this way goes in terms of having some operators, and just say that if it is like something like we just say accounts, right? I'm just giving an example. So if you say something like accounts, you want me to zoom it? Okay. So account, and then you add a percentage thing, and then close this, and then I'm going to go limit this. Limit is something more important because I can't bring the whole 1.5 million rows. I'm going to say 5 things. It's okay. So that it will be easy for us to quickly look at the glance. So yeah, so what we're going to do here is I'm giving a bare very hard coded query here to show you how this search thing works and how we implement search with this query as a base thing. So as you preview this, what we're going to get, the data is something that looks for the value, text account in the C comment. So if you look at each of these comments will be having account somewhere possibly. Yeah, here we go. So in each of this, that will be the case. So we only set it to limit it to 10. So that's 5, and that's why we are having only 5 things here. Okay. So now the thing is that we wanted to make it dynamic, where the moment you type it here, that should automatically trigger this query and bring the data and populate it here. So that's where we're going to use the same thing like how we did it previously, like the same way as how we used to get the page index. Let's go ahead, open the inspector, and pin it for a while, and then go to components, and then the table, and then what we are interested in, search text. See this one. So the search text value is something we can get it dynamically. So to show you in action, I can minimize this a bit. Okay. So now that the search text is currently nothing, so now you just say something like account. Okay. So you should be able to see that the 6 search text got updated. Okay. Something like, okay, it's moving. I'm sorry. Okay. So if you say something like value, it gets updated to it, right? So just showing you what we are going to look at. So all you need to do is to copy this as how we did previously, and come here and change this static or how we did it hard coded to just paste it, right? So now that goes up. So you can just see that value is something we entered, and now you go up here and say account, right? So you can see that it comes, the account is up here, right? So yeah, what you are seeing here in the data as we search is actually client side. So the moment I search it, what you see on the table is happening in the client side. This search is happening. You can just say for regular, if you just say for something like regular, the data what you're seeing here automatically showing up is something, the data is already here, the client thing, the same way as happened for the pagination. What we are interested here is how you do it from the server side, right? So that's where we are going to use this like and where clauses, and then set it up the query so that we bring the information. Okay. So all you need to do, the moment I click on this right, type this, I just wanted to pull this, run this query and then populate the data up here. Okay. At the same time, I wanted to have the pagination also, right? So that's where we are going to update the previous query. So you can just save this. So let me quickly bring the query so that we can quickly get this. So you just go to here. I'm just making a copy paste. So it's going to be the same thing, not anything different here. I'm going to select everything from the table, and then where the C comment, I'm putting a like keyword here at the operator. And then once you have it, you have the text here. And then if there is no text, if it is nothing, still I'm going to get the entire data, right? So you see the offset, which means that we are going to deal with the pagination thing. Okay. So yeah, this is inside Snowflake 2, okay, but the table is connected to Snowflake 1, right? So let's remove this and actually paste this in Snowflake 1, or even you can change this to Snowflake 2, but it's already 1, so let's stick with 1. So I'm going to remove this and paste this, okay, saving it. So yeah, we are good. And as I save this, and now you should be wondering, we also need to set one more thing, right? Because now we have the data here. I wanted to trigger this query again as a search set. See, once we have an event here already set it up, which is like page change. So what it means is that the moment I change the page, it runs the query and brings the data, right? But at the same time, what I also wanted to do is, as I type something here, I wanted to run the same query again and bring the data up here. So for that, you just need to add one more event. So add an event, and it's going to be search. So earlier it was about page change. This is the one we chose previously, but now it's going to be search. And I'm going to go run a query, and the query is the same one, which is Snowflake 1. Okay, so yeah, this is all about that. And now as you type something, it should be able to show you it is going to be calling this query, so that we can put it up so that you can see this loading thing happening on the run. So let's search for something like print. Okay, so I'm going to go and search for print, and you see that query got running is running here, and then it brings the data up there, and it should be ideally populating the data table with the data. So all of this data is actually coming from database. It's made it made a request to the huge table, and then it is bringing up here with a limit and offset. So now if I navigate to another page, the search remains the same, so it values to set to print, and then it goes forward and forward. So yeah, length is limited to 10, we said, but it's up to you. You can increase it as you go on. Okay, so that's the next aspect of how you can leverage search here. And then we'll be also looking at filter now. So yeah, again, we'll hold on for a while and see if there are anything to talk, and then before we're jumping on to the filter part. I hope this is turning out interesting, so let me know. Are we good? Can we go forward? Maybe a quick yes. Yeah, we know. Okay, yes. Any more yes? Only one yes? Okay. Oh, thank you, Alex. Awesome. I'm glad everyone are following it up. Why we can't see the loading state? Good question. I did not notice that. Yes. Let me check that out. Okay. So what happened? Why we are not able to see the loading state? So where was the thing? The loading state, we set it up. It was set to false. Okay. So it is Snowflake 1. And this is also Snowflake 1 data. Yeah, it is currently set to false. Okay, let me try that. I'm going to go switch to the page. Yeah, there is no loading state coming. Okay, so I think the query is also Snowflake 1. Maybe I can quickly refresh the page and see if that is the case. Yeah, we know it will be uploaded to YouTube, but it will be taking a little more time, so that we have to process the recording and then set it to YouTube. Not much time, but it will be there, obviously. Okay. So it is set to false. Let me run the query. You can also set this something like run query on this page load, which means that now you know that I refresh it the page, but there is no data. But if I toggle this on, what it happens is the moment I refresh the page, it will automatically run that query and populates. So as I now refresh again, it takes a while, and then once it loads, the first thing it does is to run that query automatically because we turned on the toggle there, right? So maybe I run it manually once. Oh, it's Snowflake 2. I'm sorry. So if you notice, I saved this on Snowflake 2. So that is not the thing what we are looking for. It's actually Snowflake 1. Yeah. So turn this toggle on and then save this. So I hope at the same time this also get fixed, the loading state. So Snowflake 1 and yes. Okay, let me quickly refresh, and we should be good to go. There you go. The loading has come back, and then the data is also there. So now I need not to go manually and run the query. Instead, it automatically runs. Maybe there was some glitch, a little something that missed to load it, but refresh fixed it. So now if I go to new page, yeah, it refreshes and brings up the next page. At the same time, if I search for it, it should be the same, I guess. So if I say Foxes, it should ideally it's loading and then gives you the data. All right, thanks for bringing that up, and yeah, I hope that cleared the question. Okay, so moving on to the next aspect of looking at the filter data. So how we are going to bring it. So let's look at the client side, and then we'll see how you can also look at the server side. Okay, so as now we have the data which is limited to 10 rows here, and then as you move forward, it brings the query up and running. So as a now, if I add a query, a filter, so let's fix the filter. What we're going to do. So we're going to set something like nation key. Possibly we can set to nation key. That should be fine, I guess. So we can stick to something like value to it. So we set the nation key and then set it to some value to 2 or 3. So add a filter, and you just say add filter and just say that nation key and maybe equals to something like 2, right? So or 1. Oh, 1 is nothing. Okay. So all this data what you're seeing here is happening in the client side, right? Okay, whatever, it's all of them are limited. Okay, so now I kept it to 2, which means that it's making a quick filter among the data which is inside the table component which is already stored, and that is what coming up and presenting it here. Okay, but this is a client side thing. Now we are going to write a query so that that will be happening in the server side, as how we have done for the pagination and for the search. Okay, so maybe this is because the Fox thing, yeah, possibly. Yeah, it's still 1 only. Okay, so let's go ahead and now let's create a new query. Yeah, this time we're going to go straight forward so that we are also lagging in time, so that we quickly wrap this. So we're going to go filter. So for the filter things, before we do it, we're going to use the filters are very straightforward here. We are going to use the where clauses, and then we just say that where the column value is equals to something. So in case we are going to say that select everything from the table where the C nation key column is equals to 2, right? That's pretty much the straightforward thing what we're going to do with the filters. And as you want to do, you can add more filters by using some and or operators in the same query. Okay, so for an example as how you show you, because the major intention here is also about how you can bring this data dynamically and start using it, right? So the first step towards making a pagination, setting the pagination for the filters. So it's a straightforward thing. You just need to go and add the the filter pagination thing. So here you see that the server side filter. So you need to toggle this on. So why we are doing this is because every time you go, you need to add, toggle this for the pagination, and you need to toggle this for the server side. And even if you notice, there is also for the sort thing. So here there is a sort, and you need to toggle this before you use it. The reason is you can able to quickly understand if I just show you this. Let me drop this. And now if you go and pin this and then open the components and the table thing, the number of attributes that you see here are currently limited to these things. But the moment I toggle this server side filter, you should be able to see some new things got added here. So the filter thing has come here, right? So maybe if I remove this, the value, right, server side filter, or maybe it's in a different way, but the values will be start accessing into it from the inspector as you toggle this on. So that's the major reason that you should always make sure to have the server side options the options turned on or the toggle from the properties. Okay, once you have that done, let's go ahead, quickly create the new query. So yeah, it's Snowflake 3. And now let's start with writing something straightforward without any dynamically setting the data. But how you do it? So you just select everything from the table where we can say C nation, C-N-A-T. Something equals to 2. Okay, so and again we have to put the limit because it goes huge. Okay, now if I just preview this, so this is how you add a filter to it. But if you wanted to go for it, Or is it how you do it? CNation key is equals to 2, but looks like there is no data has come up. Did I miss something? NITION. Or if I add something to this like this, is it word blocking? Not really.
You
Mm-hmm.
want to add form, select star form.
Oh, good catch. Select everything from. Yeah, you're right. thanks for the thanks for the help. Yeah, I was just wondering what was the thing that I'm missing here. Okay, so possibly this should be fixed, or yeah, this is fixed. So you see that the CNation key is set to 2. Okay, yeah, that's this thing. So that's how you add filters to it. But if you wanted to add more filters, you would be already aware like how you use and or operators and do the same thing the same way, right? But here, what we are interested more here is about how you get this data and put it into the query and start using it. Okay, so for that, yep, the same way, go to the inspector, pin this for a while, and then get into the components table, and the data is up here in filters, right? So in filters, you see there is nothing here because there is not, okay, it's already there. So yeah, there is, if you expand this, yeah, you see this, right? So the data is up here pretty much accessible. So the current filter is the column is C nation key and which is equals to 2. So the same thing here, condition is equals this one, and then the value is 2, and then the column is C nation key. So this is how you get the data from the inspector straight away. So let me quickly bring this data and populate it here, and remove this hard coding thing, right? So let me bring the, what do you need first, the column name, right? So the column is up here. Go ahead, copy this and remove this, paste it. Okay, and now let's remove the condition too. So let's keep the condition because there is a thing to show you. So let's keep the condition, but then next what we need is a value. So copy that and paste at the place of the value. Okay, so we are good. Okay, so let me now quickly show you how it looks. So if you should be able to see the preview, select everything from the table and then where the CNation key is equals to 2. The same thing what you have done, but now here the case is we are doing it dynamically. So now you preview it, you should be able to see the data coming up there. Okay, but yeah, first up for the condition here it is equals in text, right? But in case for Snowflake, it is accepting to have a equal to operator, right? If I just tell you like this, if it goes like this, right, it replaces the equal to sign to the text. Now if I run it, it won't work. It gives me an error saying something, but instead the reason is that it doesn't allow to have the equal thing. So that's where you can leverage some of the JavaScript capabilities here. So let me show you that possibility as well. Now what I wanted to do is replace this equals to something like this is pretty much possible if it is a Postgres thing. So Postgres, it allows you to query like this with alias, like equals and or g greater than goes to gt and less than goes to lt. These are all some of the kind of alias things that you can do with the queries, but in case of Snowflake, it is currently not done. But where in case you don't need to worry about it, you can use some JavaScript approaches to deal this. So that's where you can bring some sort of the operators help and do this easily. So I'm going to show how you do it. So you just need to get inside this and then add the thing and then just say add one more braces. This is one specific operator that brings you to sort it and uh, get the thing what is only needed. Okay, so this is up here. So which is equals. If it is equals, it should be assigned to equals. And then if it is going to be something else, if it is less than, it going to be, the GT will be replaced to this line, and this one will be replaced to, the LT will be replaced to less than sign. Okay. So yeah, but it shows a little undefined here. Maybe I'm missing a syntax. Okay. So yeah, it's because I'm writing it on the value, but instead it is supposed to be on condition, right? So it's condition. Yeah, that worked. So if you see that, now you see this, what's happening here is I'm going to bring, select everything from all of this. If you see that the equals, it's okay. I have to remove some word. Yeah, this one. I'm just removing it. Yeah. Yeah, where Pagination key is equals to the value here. So here it is supposed to be value. So I'm going to go copy this value thing and come up here and paste this. So now the query is fulfilled. So you see this, select everything from the table where the column name equals to 2 and the limit is set to 10. Yeah, that's how you bring the values of the table and then put it inside the query and run it, right? You can just create this and yeah, for now we are not, it brings you more complexity now if you wanted to add the pagination or the offset into it and then search into it all in single query could be a little complex. You can deal with it, but instead for the community call purpose, it's going to be specific about like how you can use this filters thing. You can also use multiple other add filters thing. That's where you have the object here, right? In zero object, there's only one. If you add one more filter, you should be able to see one more as the next index with one, and it gives you the filter details, right? So as just how we access it 0, if there is another filter, you should be able to use 1 and start using it, right? Okay, so now you have set this query, but instead now we have to change this from to show you this in action. Let me take this inspector away so that it goes. And now what I need to do is to show you only about the filter thing, not about the pagination or the search. Only this, we are going to use the Snowflake 3 query. So I'm going to go and change this table query to 3. Yeah, there you go. And now what I wanted to do is, yeah, data goes off because it doesn't run it. So now you go to it. And now the moment I add a filter, I wanted to trigger this and show it. For that, again, the same way, you need to add a event handler. And then it goes like filter changed or filter added anything. Okay, so run query, and the query is going to be 3. Okay, so now let me remove this and add a filter and say that nation key contains or equals to 2. Yeah, there you go. So now it brings up all the data which is specific to 2. Okay, now you can work on how you can make this, like how you can make a query that can help you with pagination and the filter thing and the search thing and even the sort thing. So sorting can also be done, but yeah, I'm just showing you the filter part. But yes, at the same time, if you think that you wanted to have different queries in different operations to be done in different queries, like how I did here, you can utilize this run.js thing and also call these queries when needed. You can have some conditions like if, and then say that you can run the queries from here. You just say queries.snowflake 3 and just say run, right? So what happens here is you can just run these queries right from here and then process, right? So that is also possible. So in case if you wanted to have the separated queries and then wanted to structurally make conditions with JavaScript and then run queries based on a programmatic logic, so that can be done using the run.js thing. Okay, so yeah, pretty much about the pagination part and about the search and then the what do you call this filters. And there is one more segment we left, which is about the sorted thing, which we looked at. So let me I would not be diving deep into it, but instead I'll show you how you can do it. So all you need to do, as always, turn on the server side sort, and then I'm creating a new query. So just go for it. I have the query in handy. So here we are using order by keyword, so which helps you to do it. So now you see that so there is order by thing. It happens only when you set it. So this goes on the basis of what do you call the order by sort applied on this specific column. Yeah, it goes on the column name and the direction, whether it is ascending or descending. So if you go something like a generic way of hard coding, you just need to say is order by the column name and then the ascending or descending. So to get it dynamically, that's how you bring it up. Maybe if I have to show you something like preview, you should be able to see nothing should be coming up as expected, but yeah, it is expected because nothing is shown. But here if you see that now, if I set it to customer key, if I click on this, all I need to do is to click on that and then the table gets updated. So if you see this, I mean, the query gets updated, select everything from the table, order by on the customer key. So this is the column which we are focusing on, and then it is going to be ascending. Okay, how it got updated is just by clicking on it. So keep an eye, it is ascending now, and then the column is obviously the customer key. The moment I click on this, it should be changed to descending now. Okay, so as I click on that, you see that it got changed to descending. Okay, it's same with all of that. You can just say now if I click on it, it goes off, and now if I focus on CNAME, for now there is nothing, but if I click on CNAME, it's going to be ascending CNAME, right? So the column change it to CNAME and then in the ascending thing. Okay, so let's revert back and stick to one. It's going to be customer key, and let's quickly preview this. There you go. Okay, given with the limit, we are dealing with it. So we made a sort and did it with the same thing. Yeah, so this is pretty much about how you can also do the sorting part. So if you're not fully sure on how you access these things in the sort, all you need to do is to click on this table, go to the inspector, and then go to the components, choose table, and there you see the sorting thing. So search for the sort thing, what we are looking for. So it's somewhere the sort applied. Yes. So here you can see what sorts and all are applied to what columns. So as you expand that, come on. Yeah, you see that the column on what sort is applied and what direction it is. Okay, so this is pretty much clear, everything about how you can use this sort as well. So you can combine queries, or you can write run.js things to call specific columns, specific queries, and then do it on basis of a condition. Okay, so yeah, as the next part, we'll be jumping on what is the agenda. We'll just jump on. Yeah, we covered the table component, pagination, server side, yes, and querying, server side, filter, search, and sorting, yes. We're going to talk about the REST API, like how you do this in REST API. It's almost a little similar thing, not to the most, but then yes, we can do this. But before jumping onto the pagination with REST API thing, than a what do you call? So than the data source like Snowflake, we can hold for a while and look for any questions. Yes, and also at this right after that, we'll look on how you can use this file picker and import a CSV and start using the same way. All right, any questions? Yeah, you have not a big thing. You would be, I mean, maybe I'm showing you and you have to go practice. Possibly, you would be able to do it as you have shown you, right? You just need to go to the inspector. Inspector is the key source for getting all of this. And at the same time, if you're good with SQL, it will be always very well. So I'm not much good with SQL things. I just have this queries ready for you to present it. So it will be smoother to understand for all of you. Okay. So any questions related to any of the things that we have covered so far, or we can just quickly jump on implementing this REST API. So for REST API would be much more, it's much more easy. You would not need to look through much of the options, because you will be using URL parameters and add some, params in the URL itself and do the pagination thing. So I hope you're good. And if there are no questions, I see no questions, I don't see any questions in the chat box. So I think we're good to go then. Yeah, if you have some, you can unmute or you can drop them in the chat. Okay, so yeah, good with Snowflake. Enough with Snowflake. Let's go for a query now. So let's create this. Okay, I'm gonna go. So what we're going to look at is now pagination with the REST API. Okay, so the REST API, what we are going to use is actually a public one. So we would not need any authentication things to set up. You can choose to set up if you have. So what we are going to do, use this query. Which is products. Okay, so this is the API endpoint that we are going to look at. So this has a huge amount of data, like how the Snowflake thing has, but not that level. But yeah, to the most, it still has a lot of data. So now the intention is that how we bring this data into the table and then start using the same offsets and limits to do the same thing. Okay, so how you do it? So let's go get into our application. I'm going to go use one more new table here. So as now I'm going to go remember, this is not the same table previously. The table is still here. So I'm going to use this new table 2. I'm going to go create a new query. So this time it's not going to be Snowflake anymore. We're going to go choose REST API. So if you're already aware with Postman, you would be pretty much good to go. So this is why you have to enter the URL. So the URL what we are looking at is products, and then yeah, you just put it up here. But yes, at the same time, you need to have the URL should support pagination in terms of it should allow and accept and respond to those parameters which has offset and limits to it. Okay, so to show you a quick example, as I'm now previewing this, there are 222 items which I've got. So it's this API is returning me 222 items. In each there is a lot. So there is ID, title, and some image thing and all of that, right? So now if I wanted to bring this in the same way like chunks, right? I don't want 222 or 222 thousands of items. I do not want to do that. Instead, I wanted to bring this in chunks, or in terms of limiting it and putting an offset to it. So for suppose now I've got for limiting, you can just say limit is equals to 5, which means that this will only bring 5. It only brings the number of items. Oh, okay. Did I do anything wrong? It should be ideally showing you only 5. So products, I think you have to set offset first, and limit is equals to 5 maybe. Yeah, so it's working in this way. So you have to set the offset first, and then limit is equals to 5. Okay, so what it means is that you're going to skip the same thing. Like you're going to skip the 10 parts, and then the next 5 things is we are going to bring, right? So that is all happening here. So you just see only 5 items got up here. So now the ability what we are going to look at is how you can set these values as how you have used for the SQL things and have this query thing happening. Okay, so for that we're going to use the server side pagination again. Click on this component again, and then now you need to do is go to this components, and then see table 2 now. Or we are interested in page index. So now if you're aware, we're going to use the page index 1, and then we are going to use the similar math what we have done previously. We are going to use multiply it with 10 and give the limit to 10. So limit is to 10, and for the offset we are going to say access it. So let me paste it instead, type it. If you remember, I copied that from there. So it's page index. The page index is currently 1, but my interest is to reduce this to 1 and then multiply it to 10, so that it gives you a value straight away into 10. Okay, so now it is 0, right? It should be, because the page index is 1, because you want the initial 10 thing. But if you switch to the next page, okay, it should be enabled. You can instead you can add this toggle on this server side pagination. I missed to do it. So now if you look at closely, this is currently offset is set to 0. Now I change to page 2. You should be able to see this offset is set to 10 and limit is to 10 always, right? So yeah, you can preview this, and now you are good with setting up the API. I mean the endpoint accordingly with the table. Okay, so now let's connect this. So the query name is REST API 1. So click on this table, go to the properties, remove the dummy data, and start typing queries .rest API. For some reason it is not showing. Maybe I did not save it or run it. Okay, I just say data, and now let's quickly run it. REST API 1. Yeah, there you go. So it got up. So now if you just expand it, yeah, here there are, it's because in the page number 2 you see that it started from 30 itself. But if you go back, okay, my bad. Okay, if I just go back, so it should be starting. Okay, why do you think it is not going? Because we have not added an event to it. So you just need to click on this table, and we have to run the query on every time you click on this button to navigate, right? So for that we need to add an event to listen to that. So on every page changed, I wanted to run a query, and which is nothing but the REST API 1. Okay, so let's go back, and as I move to page 2, it should execute that and bring it. Okay, so the same thing what we have done similar to the previous one. So to show you in live, keep an eye on this run button so that it loads as I click on this thing. So go to page 3, it runs and then brings the data, the followed up data, and shows it here. Okay, so this is how you can bring the data from the REST API with the help of the offsets and the limits. But again, this thing should be supported by your API to do it. If your API doesn't, if it just gives you all the data, then there is other approaches. But it's almost always that's where you can leverage transformations. So we have query transformations, where you can write JavaScript to do or to alter some parts of the data or to add or something, and limited changes that you can do with the responses from the data, and can do it matched with the component or however with the requirement, right? So yeah, that's about how you can add pagination or implement pagination with the help of the query parameters with offsets and pages to the API and set it to a table component. Right. So this is pretty much about very similar, but it's much more easy if you have APIs than writing queries. I understand that. So at the same time, let's jump on. Next part is about how you can, use this drop down and you can use CSV and populate this data and do it same thing. Yeah, as always, let me hold for a while and see if there are any questions. Okay, it feels skeptical if there are no questions, or is it good to do not have any questions? Okay. All right, so let me go forward and actually show you the next part on how you use the CSV here instead of SQL data or the REST API, but instead we are going to use this what do you call the CSV and then do it. So I'm going to use the file picker component here to show you the data, the actual CSV data. I think Asim is waiting for this for a while. Sorry for keeping him wait. All right, so I'm very sorry, Asim. It's your ask, but I'm just keeping you wait for a while now. Okay. So the data, I just wanted to show you how the data would be looking like, what data we'll be looking into. So let me quickly bring that. Okay. So yeah, so this is the data, the CSV we are going to import. So it has lot of rows. You see that? So there are, you can also have a lot of columns. The one I got from Asim has a lot of columns, but yep, it still works the same. I tested, but just for the purpose here, it is more clear that we have that CSV in this way. So the file, what you're seeing here is a huge a CSV which has a lot of rows in it, and also a few columns, but it can also have a lot more columns as well. Okay. So yeah, pretty much clear. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to import that, but then on loading it to a table is where the part comes in. So again, we are already out of time. So what I'm going to do is run through these things so that you keep your eyes a little catchy, because I would be doing some mistakes. So help me with that. At the same time, as we're going at a faster pace, so you just look at this, but not going in depth, but how you do it as a process we'll be looking at. Okay. So yeah, new table. So I don't think we would need this table anymore. I'm removing it. Table 2, maybe however, so whatever it is. So, but it's just not coming up. So that's why. Yeah, there you go. So here, earlier we started with Snowflake query, and then we jumped on to the REST API query, but now we are going to use run.js by itself. Okay. So the first thing is just remove the table, the dummy data, click on the table and remove it. So now the table becomes empty. So these are fresh to go. So now I need to, choose the file. So all I need to do is to click on this drag and drop, and sorry, there's some downloads I have. Yeah, this is the file, and then just open. So yeah, again, you need to set some limits to it. So it says that it is not accepting images because it is not accepting CSS because it is set to receive only images. Now I need to change it. So in the file picker, click on the file picker, go to the accept types, and just say I'm interested only in CSV right now. And also you can the limit size is something like I'll add 2 zeros. And not serious, don't go in this way. You should be very specific. I'm just showing you as a part of it. Yeah. Let's go ahead, click on the same file, and I think it should be accepting it now. Yeah. So now the data is loaded. So which means that the data is here inside ToolJet. Okay. So, but if you start to bring all this data to the table, it might bring you, performance issues. It might bring you some lag because of the huge amount of data. So instead, what we're going to do is we're going to implement the same style of pagination into it and start using it. As we switch between the pages, we're going to get some chunks and chunks, portions of data from the import, from the file, and display it on the table. Okay, so first thing first, to show you how this data actually looks like. So you can just look at that. So this is going to be in CSV, so which means that this table will not be able to hold this data, because table component accepts or expects the data in sort of JSON, and it should be also very much structured. But here from files, if you just look at, if I have to show you how the data will be received by the file picker, you can just say components dot file picker dot content, right? So you see this is all kind of not structured data, which is also a CSV values, which our table doesn't support. It's more like a CSV which is just coming up there. So now the first step to actually have this data into this table is to convert this to change all this CSV into JSON. And once you have that ready, you can able to populate that into the table. Okay, that should be the first step. So essentially, I'll be walking you through all of that at a go. We're going to go convert this. At the same time, we're going to implement the pagination for it. So it's always the same logic: offsets and limits. And in the offsets, you multiply it with 10. At the same time, you minus 1, so that it works as expected. Okay. So for that, first thing first, we'll write code. We'll use run.js. So this run JavaScript code. And then I'm going to import that code, so which we'll be using to convert the CSV to JSON. At the same time, we'll be using pagination in the same. So this is the code. As you can see this, maybe I expand this. Okay, yeah. This is good. So this is a function which is going to be which will be helping us to convert CSV to JSON with pagination. Okay, this function expects CSV data which we already imported with the file picker, and then it asks for the page. So which page, and then the offset. Right. So if you would be able to follow up from the beginning, the page is something that we bring the page index. Right. And at the same time, the next thing is something, the offset is something you have to set it to something like 10 or anything, like it goes on, right? So how you bring it is up to you. So that's the aspect of how you use this function, the data and the page and the offset. So if you look at this closely, this is actually the same logic. So if you see this, the page -1 into offset. So this is what we've been doing from the SQL to the REST API, and now here at the run.js as well. Okay. So yeah, this is the code. This is the whole logic that does it. And then we have a function here. So here, if you see that, now I'm loading it. So if you see that, I'm going to return, I'm calling the function which is up here, which is responsible to doing all of it. And then inside that, I'm giving the data. So first is data, the CSV data. CSV data is something I'm picking it from the file picker, and that too in file 0, and the content, right? And then the page is something I'm bringing it from the page index. I hope you remember how I got it. You just go to inspector and bring it, and then the offset. Okay. So now you minimize this and just save this. Okay. You just create, and yeah, this is good to go. All you need to do is to connect this table to this query. So how you do it? Straightforward. Click on this table, go to the properties, remove this, and just say queries dot run.js this time, run.js1 dot data. Okay, now let's run this, and there we go. So yeah, now it has this data. At the same time, now you need to turn on the pagination as well. So yeah, so it shows you a limited amount of data here. At the same time, you can switch through. Yeah, why it is not working? Yeah, as always, I'm missing to do it. You need to add an event, right? So you just go to add an event, and on row clicked, sorry, not row clicked, it's going to be page changed. On page changed, I'm going to go run query, and that is going to be run.js. Okay, so now as I switch between the pages, it will be very smooth. So you can increase the size to something around 100 in terms of length. And now as you switch between, switch from here and there. So what it's doing is it's always running the query. On every time I click on this next button, it runs the run.js, and then executes this code, which is responsible for converting the CSV to JSON, and also taking a portion of it with respective to the page on which page you are currently on. So the page index, right? So yeah, this is how you can bring the information on from a CSV as well. This is actually not a part of our call, but this is also some of the important aspects that would be good to have things. So we thought to talk about it, and I hope it could be also helpful for our team at the same time. So yeah, this is the code thing and all of it. I can share this with you in the description once I upload it to YouTube. Yeah, so this is how you do it with respective to the uploading a CSV with a file picker and also navigating it to in a table component. All right, so what else do we have? Yeah, the favorite part. Let's go. If you are still there and if you are energetic enough or not bored enough. Awesome. Oh, definitely, Asim. I hope that was helpful to you. So yeah, we are good and pretty much excited. So to hear from your thoughts, what you're looking for, or are we good with it? Do we have any questions? I'm back. Yeah, please, Vinod, you can ask your question. Or you can choose to unmute, or you can drop your question. How do these features will find end users? How does these features will find end users? I'm not sure if I understood your question. These are moreover how you bring the information to ToolJet and how you can use it effectively. So that's the major aspect of what we are talking about. But if you're having anything specific, feel free to drop it. We can talk about that. Or anything else from any of you, or I would also look forward for your feedback if there is anything essentially needed, or if you're looking for anything specific, not only related to the call, but in general, if you have anything related to the ToolJet by itself. So if we do not have any questions, I'm just setting up a form for you so that it will help us to learn about the things and how we can improve. So please hold on for a while so that you can just help me with this. All right. Okay. This is good. Awesome. So I'm just dropping, I'm just dropping a form here. Sorry, I just sent it to Vinod itself, but yeah, here you go. So this form, you can choose to add your name or email if needed, but please drop your feedback, anything related to it. So that will be helpful for us in terms of how we can improve community calls is moving forward. So please take a moment, kindly take a chance to open the form and this fill it up, just submit it so that it will be very much helpful for us in terms of curating content or in terms of choosing topics, or even if you're having some suggestions in terms of improvising, or also you're looking forward from some specific topic that you want us to cover, you can definitely drop that as a part of the feedback. So it's up to you. It can be anonymous. The form can be anonymous with anything related. Awesome. I'd be excited to look for your feedback, and that should be something I'll be looking forward for. So thank you so much for being here. And if you have any further questions, you can join us at tooljet.com/Slack. So once you're up there, you can join general channel and drop your questions. So be sure to drop your feedback and join us at Slack. So thank you so much. And we know that if you still have further questions, you can join us at Slack. I'll be always there. You can search my name in Slack and you can drop me a DM, or you can post it in the general channel. Yes. So it's tooljet.com/Slack. Awesome. Or you can find it in the website. So thank you so much once again for being here. Thank you so much for being with me and going through all of this. And I hope you had a great time learning a couple of aspects on how you can deal large volumes of data inside ToolJet, and some of the aspects of pagination, filtering, sorting, searching, and also with the API and also with the CSV thing. So I hope you had a great time doing this, and I had a lot of fun doing this with you. And thank you so much for helping me when I got stuck. And we'll be looking forward for what's coming. So we'll see you next time on August. So next is August. So we'll look forward for the August last week with another interesting topic. So we'll hit you, we'll reach your inboxes with invites. So that's what I meant to say. Thank you. Thank you once again. We'll see you another time. Bye-bye.